Every day I get emails from people in the horse class community that are having problems with their horses. It may be the horse is acting out under saddle, it may be a sudden behavior change from their horse, but something's not going right. And often these owners or these riders suspect that there's a physical cause. And usually they're absolutely right. I've found in my experience working with problem horses that many times, I'm talking 80 to 90% of the time that there is a behavioral issue with the horse, especially something more extreme like rearing or bucking or refusing all of the jumps or being really spooky, that there is a physical cause. The horse is experiencing pain and discomfort, and that's what's causing them to act out. But many times these horses aren't lame, they might not palpate sore across their back, so where do we start figuring out what could be going on? Unfortunately, they can't just speak to us and say, hey, it hurts here when I do this, or this is making me feel anxious. So how can we get a better idea to know where to start our diagnostics, where to help the veterinarian even know where to look to help us and help the horse? A technique that I use and that I recommend so often in these situations is the behavior surveillance video. I learned this from Dr. Sue McDonald. She's a veterinary behaviorist at New Bolton Center, and Dr. McDonald teaches this technique because it works by, first we're watching the horse unattended. The horse isn't affected by having people around, they're not being asked to do anything, so we kind of get a view into their private life, if you will, to see what kind of things are they doing when we're not watching. The second reason this works so well is because we're seeing the horse over time. The horse might do something, maybe he does a little stretch, maybe he does a little movement that's a bit unusual, but if he only does it one time in the hour that we're there grooming and working with him, we might not think anything of it. You start to see that behavior done repetitively over and over, and then you realize, there's a clue to where in the horse's body they might be having an issue. So what is this technique of the behavior surveillance video? You put the horse in an area where you can watch them with a camera for a long period of time. Minimum of 8 hours. I like to use a stall because I can just set my camera in a normal tripod outside the stall and I can see what the horse is doing. You can use a small paddock if you've got a camera that can cover the whole space the horse is in. You're going to set it up and you're just going to allow the horse there in their normal routine. Then you watch the video back in fast forward and you notice what you see. Now, of course, if someone is watching that has a trained eye, for example, this is a great place for a veterinary behaviorist in your horse's team, your horse's health team, because they have the training of a veterinarian with a specialty in behavior and can be a huge asset in diagnosing these physical behavioral problems. So you watch the video and fast forward and you look for those little tells. I remember a horse that I did this with. Her name was Promise. She was a young thoroughbred that came in to me for training because she was bucking explosively and rather unpredictably. I found it probably wasn't so unpredictable because she was quite tense anytime that you would put the saddle on her, that you would tighten the girth, that a rider would even think about getting on. What we noticed with Promise during her surveillance video is she did a lot of switching her weight between her hind legs. Now, she didn't do this when she was, say, on the cross ties or when we were just in the normal routine of working with her. But at rest, standing in her stall, she was constantly shifting her weight. That clued us in that there might be a hind end issue. Then we noticed that she did this unusual stretch where she would lift her neck and she would hollow out her back. And she didn't just do it one time, she would do it every 15 to 20 minutes for a long period of time throughout most of the day. So that told us, there might be something in her back. This helped to guide the diagnostics that the veterinarian then used to find the issue with Promise and to help us figure out a plan for her. So these behavior surveillance videos are so helpful to really get to the root of these behavioral problems. If you enjoyed this video and it was helpful, then subscribe, follow us, and go to horseclass.com for many more training tips, riding advice, horse care articles, everything horse. I'll see you there.